You can be as happy as you decide to be. The moment you realize happiness is a decision, your life can change dramatically. And if we don't make the decision to be happy, then circumstances will decide for us. More so, if you believe that being happy will make you a better person, and it almost certainly will, then we have a responsibility to embody the pursuit of happiness. No one likes to be around unhappy people. No one wants to have an unhappy spouse, unhappy parents, unhappy child, an unhappy boss. Being happier is better for you, and it's better for the people around you. Of course, in some cases, there may be a clinical depression or other related matters, but for the great majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, happiness is in our hands. It is also among life's most cherished desires. We just want to be happy. We want our children to be happy. And I believe that Judaism can be an extraordinary source of happiness. And here are 7 ways that I think Judaism can help bring happiness to our lives. Gratitude. Without gratitude, I do not think it is possible to be happy, because it means we don't appreciate what we have. And Judaism helps us to develop gratitude. Prayer can play an extraordinary role here. In the words of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory, prayer is a seminar in gratitude. What is a Jew supposed to do the first thing we wake up in the morning? Recite a prayer. Modeh ani lefanecha. Thank you, living and eternal ruler, for restoring my soul to me. Thank you, God, for waking me up. Reciting a blessing before a meal, a hamotzi, is a statement of gratitude. We should all walk around with a deep sense of gratitude to live in the United States. Everyone in this room had a relative who fled what in most cases was a terrible, oppressive regime to live in America. Some of you yourselves have done so. Every one of us should be grateful to have the liberties we have and fight to protect them. Also, it's vital to appreciate what we have when we have it, not in retrospect. Let's not take things for granted. Our spouse, children if we have, parents, livelihood, health, whatever it is. When people lose those gifts, they will often say, if only things could be the way they were before, then I'd be happy. But as Rabbi Joseph Telushkin teaches, he says, you know what? I knew them when things were the way they were before, and they weren't happy. Express your gratitude. Tell your family, your friends, those whom you know, tell God that you are grateful. And finally, realize there will always be things missing from your life. Always. The key to happiness in this regard is to focus on what you do have, not what is missing. Gratitude is the first and vital step towards being happier. Which leads me to the second gift that I think Judaism can give us in terms of happiness: meaning, purpose. It is vital to have deep and transcendent meaning in life. Our souls are not hungry for fame or comfort or wealth or power. Those rewards create almost as many problems as they solve. Our souls are hungry for meaning. Those are the words of Rabbi Harold Kushner, author of When Bad Things Happen to Good People and 13 other books with extraordinary insights into the human condition. Rabbi Kushner passed away about 4 months ago. We owe him a debt of gratitude. For the religious person, there is great meaning in serving God. And for the Jew, we have a unique role. In the Torah portion which we just read 15 minutes ago, will allow me to set the scene. Jews have been wandering in the desert for nearly 40 years. Their goal was to make it to the promised land. You can imagine the excitement. They're just about there, and Moses stops them to give a speech. And this is what Moses says in God's name. I make this covenant not with you alone, but also with those who are standing here with us this day before Adonai our God, and those who are not with us this day. In other words, God makes this covenant not only with the Jews who were there, but with every future generation of Jews, you and me. So what's the covenant, the pact that God makes with the Jewish people? God says to the Jewish people, here's the Torah. Your role is to live by its values, to be an or lagoyim, to be a light unto the nations of the world, to be an example. That's our purpose. That's what we were chosen to do. The chosen people were chosen to bring the values, the ideals, and the Torah to the world. But that only happens if we take Judaism seriously and live it, which I have spent my entire adult life in the hope of inspiring others to do, along with myself. If Judaism is central to your life, not central in that you feel good about being Jewish, not central in that you are proud of being Jewish, not central in that you stand up for anti-Semitism. Those are all important. But Judaism is a unique way of living that not enough Jews yet take seriously. My dear, dear friends, if you think that Judaism has something important to say to the world, if you think that the Torah brings an unparalleled set of ideals, please know there is no bringing Judaism and Torah to the world unless we do it. It is not being a Jew that is important. It is being Jewish that is important. We have a moral and spiritual treasure in Judaism. I can almost promise you that taking seriously the task of bringing Judaism to the world will be a deep source of meaning and bring you great happiness. And it's my hope that as we are thinking of vows for the coming year, that we will all include greater Jewish practice and commitment in the year to come. Which takes me to the third gift that Judaism can give us in vis-a-vis happiness. Judaism teaches us to live with a sense of urgency. And boy, are we reminded of that today, Yom Kippur. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed, who will live and who will die. Those words are meant to shake us up. None of us lives forever. Yom Kippur calls out. Don't wait. Don't wait to be happy. Rabbi, I'll be happy when I get married, change my job, make more money, go on that vacation, lose the weight, fill in the blank, any way you wish. You should go after those things. They may become a source of happiness. I hope they do. But it could take many years, and some may never come to fruition. Don't wait. Don't wait until you get married, change your job, go on the vacation, lose the weight, make more money. Don't continue on in life without a hard internal stop. Today, now, stop to examine your life. The examined and deeper life is a happier life. Don't wait to be happy. Decide today. Which leads me to the fourth way that I think Judaism can help us in our quest for happiness. If you believe that you'll be happier if you pursue goodness, I believe Judaism can play a central role. There is no guarantee that if you do good in this world, you will have an easier life. Yet think of the people that you and I know who are dedicated to goodness. I think they are people who are far more likely to be happy and have a far greater sense of inner peace. Not only that, good people attract good people. You'll have finer friends. Think about the times in your life when you have done something good for another person. It might have been something simple. You simply helped them do a chore. Or it might have been a time where you took a bold stand for a cause that you believed in, and you took some hits for it because it wasn't popular. But when you do something good, we almost always feel good about it. We feel happier. You may very well regret the bad things you have done. I do not think you will regret the good. Which leads me to the fifth and related way that Judaism can bring us happiness. You need moral grounding to be happier. And for Jews, that moral grounding has always been the Torah. One of the most important questions we can ask ourselves or our children is, how do you decide what's right and wrong? By the way, that's a good question to ask your children or your grandchildren. How do you decide what is right and wrong? Go home and do it. Most people, the overwhelming majority of people who I've asked, and I suspect it's true just in general, will respond, I decide what's right and wrong by following my heart or my conscience. And by the way, lest we forget that teaching, it's repeated in virtually every high school and university commencement address. Follow your heart. Well, let me tell you what the Torah teaches about following your heart. We read it today. It's the last part of the Shema. Velo taturu acharei levavhem ve'acharei einechem. Do not follow the desires of your heart and your eyes, which can lead you astray. The Torah could not be more direct. Don't let your heart or your feelings or your desires be your moral barometer. You can imagine all the uncompromising things you would do if you followed your heart all the time. It is so important to realize this. The secular world has a great deal to offer, but it has no enduring set of values. That's why you're told to follow your heart. There's nothing else to follow. And when there are no enduring underlying set of values, very dangerous ideas can take over. We're seeing some of them today. For Jews and for Western civilization, the moral and spiritual guide has been the Torah and the Bible. And Jews who look to the Torah as their moral compass have a moral grounding. And there's something else you get. There are 150 Psalms in the Bible. The very first Psalm, the very first verses of the very first Psalm, the preamble to all 150 Psalms is the following. Happy is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scorners. But his delight is in the Torah of Adonai. On his Torah he meditates day and night. Happy is the person who does this. 2,500 years ago, the Psalms understood the Torah as a source of happiness. If the Torah becomes your moral and spiritual guide, I believe it will be a deep well of happiness in your future. Which leads me to the sixth way that I think Judaism can bring greater happiness to life. Develop self-control. It's one of Judaism's great messages. Some years ago, the state of California created a task force, because that's what the state of California does. It creates task forces. And what was this task force created to do? To study and to promote self-esteem. I would have much preferred a task force that would have been devoted to self-control or self-discipline, to promote that. Because I believe that it's vital to living a happy life. Every happy person that I know well has a fair amount of self-control. The Talmud asks, who is strong? And Ben Zoma replies, one who overcomes his inclinations. One of the vital lessons our tradition teaches are that the great battles are not between us and society, but they are internal battles. We have to overcome our desires at times. And by the way, this is a life-affecting realization. Learning to say no to our desires can liberate us. If you reflect on your accomplishments in life that have brought you happiness, personal ones, family ones, academic ones, all the goals that you have accomplished, they all required undoubtedly a fair amount of self-control. It's Yom Kippur, time for all of us to set some clear goals and ask ourselves what we need to do to achieve them. Developing self-control, learning to say no, is saying yes to a happier life. And finally, how Judaism can make us and help us in the road to happiness is God. I have thought about this a great deal over the years. I know that some of you have a very deep faith. And I also know that many of you have trouble believing. And I want to offer a thought and a suggestion that I hope will shape your life, that I hope will be helpful, especially to those who desire a greater sense of belief. We would all acknowledge that we are born with inclinations, certain natures. Some people are musically inclined, some people are academically inclined, some people are athletically inclined, others have to work harder in those areas. Kind of a sweet note, I'm looking at my children who are here, a sweet note along those lines. I ran cross country in high school. Some of you laughed, that wasn't helpful. That was about 50 years ago. It turns out that both of my children, Joshua and Daniel, who I don't think knew it at the time, they also chose to cross country when they were students at Milton Community School. By the way, a great school. And I'm not just saying that because some of you are students here and know. They had extraordinarily great experience. You have to train 4 or 5 miles a day. You have to run 4 or 5 miles a day. So I turned to them, and when they told me they had joined the cross-country team, I said, did you know that I also ran cross-country in high school? And my son, Daniel, always respectful, politely turned to me and said, Dad, that will require visual confirmation. By the way, just so I remember my response, I gave him a brief lecture on the 5th of the 10 Commandments, the one about honoring your father and your mother. Discussion ended. The point here is, Some people are more musical by nature, some are more athletic, some more academic, and therefore some by nature may just have a greater spiritual sense. Some might have a greater sense of God, and some may have to work harder to have that faith. Rabbi David Wolpe wrote in Why Faith Matters, it's a great line. The task for one who feels God's absence is not to prove God, but to find God. So how does one find God? The same way you find anything else. You have to look for it. And how does one look for God? By trying to bring God into your life. And here's one suggestion. There is a tradition that before you go to sleep at night, you recite what is known as the bedtime Shema. This is how it reads. God of the universe, I forgive anyone who angered or antagonized me or who sinned against me, whether against my body, my property, my honor, or anything of mine, whether accidentally, willfully, carelessly, or purposefully, whether through speech, deed, thought, or notion, in this incarnation or in any other, may no one be punished because of me. May it be your will, Adonai, my God, and the God of my ancestors, that I will sin no more. It's a beautiful thing to say. You're forgiving those who harmed you, and you're asking God the hopes that you will sin no more. And it ends with the word Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Regardless of your belief or not, say those words before you go to sleep, and you will have brought God a little closer into your life. And if you like the idea of doing that, when you leave services, though, this morning, for those who wish, this card with this prayer in it is available to you when you leave the sanctuary. And I hope for those who take it, and I hope you do, that you'll put it on your bedside table and say the words at night, recite them alone, or if you have children or even grandchildren occasionally. You want to bring God closer to you? Keep a bit more kosher, give a bit more charity, and limit gossip, because that's what God and the Torah teach Jews to do. A final thought about God, just for today. It's appropriate to ask things from God, to say a prayer that God will protect you, that God will heal people, all the things that we ask for from God, usually legitimate. But I want to suggest a far more important question. Not what does God want from me? Sorry, not what do I want from God, but what does God want from me? That is a far more important question. And every time we ask God, what do you want from me? We will have engaged with God, and the likelihood is that it will make us better human beings. Acting in ways that we believe will please God can be a deep source of happiness. Whether you're a passionate believer or you're in the noble pursuit of belief, having God alongside you during the ups and downs of life can be an extraordinary source of inner peace and of happiness. My friends, there are many roads to happiness. I don't believe religion is the only one, but I think it is an extremely powerful one. And I have no doubt that Judaism can bring deep happiness into our lives. And even when we don't feel happy, we can act happy. Our actions influence our feelings, our desire to be happy, our will to be happy can often overcome our feelings to the contrary. And I also know that happiness is not necessarily related to the experiences we have had in our lives. I'll bet you all know pretty good people who've had pretty good lives, and they're not very happy. And we have all met people who've had difficult lives and are happy. There was a man, a concentration camp survivor. He survived 3 concentration camps, Dora, Buchenwald, and Bergen-Belsen. His parents were murdered in Auschwitz. He and 1 other sibling out of 6 survived. I am told he woke up every morning and said to his wife, "I have everything I need. I have my wife, I have my children, and I have my house. I am the luckiest man in the world." I know this to be true because his wife is in this sanctuary, my mother. And that man was my father. God bless your soul, Dad. You can decide how happy you want to be. The moment we realize happiness is our decision, our lives can change dramatically. This is the time of year we make vows. We set goals. I hope among them is a goal to be happy. The rewards for you and for those around you may be incalculable. May you all be sealed in the book of life, and may this coming year bring you and your loved ones blessings beyond measure. Amen.